Hi, it's Gadget UK here again. The first of two things sent to me from a friend of mine, Tom Meads. So, as you can see, Atari 800XL. It's the first time I've seen a case one of these, I think. I may have seen one when I was back in the trade, I just don't remember. I think around that time I just saw things like the 65XC and the 130. Yeah, so I got a letter here from Tom. Please find inside my Atari 800XL is a broken keyboard flex and colour pot issue, where colour is lost from the display after the machine is warmed up. Colour trim pot has been replaced in the past. Yeah, so there's also an Amiga 500 PCB. We'll look at that in another video. So yeah, straight away there's a few scratches and things on here. We can clean those off. So we've got two issues: keyboard flex membrane and colour. So the connections here uses the same power supply as the 65XC. I've got a power switch there, TV connector, monitor connector. So I've got a cable that should work with this for each of those, power and video. You've got the SIO, is it called, or something, the peripheral connector, I forget. Yeah, I think the disk drive goes in there, doesn't it? Parallel port there. Joystick ports on here. I think we've looked at the board out of this, well, not this one, but the same model recently, and that had a colour problem, didn't it? It was the transistor there. I'm just hoping it's the transistor on this, not the GTIA. The GTIA is the you know, the graphics chip, if you like. It outputs the video on the Atari 8-bit range of computers. So I think before we do any tearing down or anything like that, I think I'm going to connect power and video up, and we'll see if we can, you know, simulate or see evidence of those two faults. So all connected up. Let's power that on. So yeah, I think the next thing I'll do is just press some of the keys on the keyboard here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 0. Just trying the two arrows there. Yeah, those work. Delete backspace. That works. I'm thinking the keyboard membrane thing probably relates to these buttons, because that's always the problem. It's the same on the 65XC. And I think the reason being is because these buttons are handled by the GTIA, I think. I could be wrong, I think they are. It's a strange thing, they bodged the function keys in there. But the rest of the keyboard membrane is scanned between Pokey and you know, some other chips there. Yeah, so maybe that's the issue here. Like, press reset. Yeah, reset ain't working, is it? And I think, I forget which key you hold down. One of the keys here you hold down to get into self-test. It might be option, it might be select, I can't remember. Let's try holding down option. Ah, that's the self-test, that works. So holding down option works okay. But there's another key you can hold down there to, disable basic, can't you? Is it? I forget which one it is, but anyway, I need to test those out properly. Let's try holding down start. Yeah, that seemed to work because, yeah, there's no basic there. That's what the one you'd hold down to start. So I don't know, the keyboard membrane thing I'm a bit puzzled by. But anyway, right now, no issue. So I'm going to connect up the, whatever it's called, disk drive. I'll stick it up top left. I can never remember the name of it. It's from Lothrak. An absolute must purchase if you have an Atari 8-bit or want to get an Atari 8-bit. Yeah, we'll connect that up and load a few games and just test it for a period of time, really. Yeah, and that's what I was talking about from Lothrak here. The SIO to SD. I've got the version 1.3. I went for a one that's black. It's a bit dirty, this, isn't it? It needs a bit of a clean. Anyway, nevertheless, it's got that connected there, which, yeah, if I just sort of sits on the desk, should just plug into the, hang on, running out of desk space already, into there, I think. That's it. And it's been a while since I've used this. I honestly can't remember what you do. I think on this you hold down shift or something to get the menu up or something. I honestly can't remember. Let's see. Yeah, it's loading, look. And as you can see, I've got the file manager there. So I think this works best with a joystick, actually. Let me just plug a joystick in. Let's just have a look in over there. Yeah, so we've got some bits of homebrew and stuff like that there. Let's try Popeye. I'm assuming that should work. Yeah, so it's a noisy loader. The Atari 8-bit, you always get that beeping noise there as it reads the data in. Yeah, so that has worked, hasn't it? So, as I say, I'm just going to just leave this on for a bit, play it a bit, test it a bit. I'll show you some of the games and things as we progress through this, but right now the colour is there, the colour isn't going anywhere, and the keyboard seems to work. So a bit underwhelming at this stage because I can't see any faults. Oh, you press the start button. Yeah, it's been a while since I used the Atari. Yes, the colour's not great, I would say that. Yeah, it's that same game again, International Karate. 10 minutes later, still okay. Colours look good, keyboard's still working, so yeah, another half an hour I think. Finally, after quite a long time of being on test, after 2 or 3 days here, testing for an hour or two here and there, it's been on for, I don't know, an hour and a half here, and you can see the video is going a bit nuts. The interesting thing is here, and it's a bit telling, it's not just colour. The colour's going, but just look, can you see we got a line? It's like you get a line, not a line, line, not a line, a line, not a line. So, that is interesting. Let me zoom you in. Yeah, hopefully you can see there what I mean. We've got like lines, it's like jail bar, no jail bar, jail bar, no jail bar. And when we see the jail bars, we lack the colour. Very interesting. Let me just try moving the power connector and the video connector. It's very lightly, but I don't know, I'm just trying to gauge whether there's any bear in there. No, so we do have something that's perhaps changing over time. Well, I mean that's obvious, but what I mean is it could be, I don't know, transistor's gain being affected a little bit or something, just a tiny bit. Or, you know, it's more like some sort of, you know, something is changing frequency. You know, you've got a frequency that's spot on, yeah, and then just as it warms up, it moves a little bit. Its frequency is just marginal now, it's on the very edge. I would suspect if I left it on a bit longer. Is this normal? Here, we've got lines here, look. I think that's supposed to be just part of the water effect there. But those lines, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, what was the point was, if I just leave this another 20-30 minutes and come back, maybe there'll be no colour at all. You know, the other clue on this scene here, see this line down here? Look, there's like a line that's invariably down here, but sometimes up there. You know, put my finger there. Yeah, it's hovering around a bit. It's like different, it's been on a different scan line each time. So, and that obviously is tying into the colour issue. And can you see it looks green, the floor here, and then it goes yellow, green. It's like, so the colour is the thing that's been affected at the same time as that line flicks in and out there. I mean, if it's a GTAA, I don't know what I'm going to be able to do because I can't get one, I don't think. I've not got a spare. I wouldn't even know where to get one from. I don't think even Best Electronics have got any PAL ones. Yeah, I'll just leave it a bit longer, but then I'm going to tear it down, I think, and we'll just have a look inside and maybe take some measurements at the point where things like this are going on. You know, we can measure around the colour stuff when it's working, and then measure around when it's not. So it continued to be marginal, really, the colour there. So yeah, anyway, let's just tear this to pieces. The other thing I tested at the same point there was the function keys here. The power LED, there is not illuminating. I don't think reset's working, but you can get into self-test and you can disable basic by holding those keys down, I think, and the selected start seems to work in games. I'm not sure about help. So yeah, those two are questionable and the power LED is not working, but the membrane seems to be, you know, the main matrix there is. So we've got quite a lot of screws here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so 4 along the bottom and 2 in the top corners there. So let's just get all the screws out. So you can see the membrane here, so I just need to just carefully try and pull this out without damaging it. There we go. So that's that detached. Put that out of the way. Yeah, so this never gets hold with Atari systems, this shielding. I would suggest if you've got one of these you want to keep, obviously as a pristine example, keep this on it. If you've got one as a working, you know, you've got to use it and play games on it, use it for lots of hours and stuff, remove this shield, and obviously this is one of the screws that holds the shield and the motherboard in. It looks to have a full set of screws, this. I mean, if you do remove the shield, you know what, they're so rare these, what I'd suggest is put that shield in some bubble wrap and store it away somewhere. So if at some point you do want to reassemble it as a complete system, you can do. It may sound crazy because you know what you're thinking, who cares about the shield? Well, it's just not complete, is it? That's the thing, it's just not the same when it's missing parts, even if those parts hinder its long life. And these are quite, I would say, quite rare. Actually, there's a hell of a lot less Ataris for sale on any of the online marketplaces versus, I don't know, C64 Spectrums. You could argue that's because of the point we're at. You know, so many people have started collecting these old systems back again. The millions of them that are still out there have all been rehomed. But over the years, I've always seen a lot less of these Atari 8-bits than anything else, certainly in Europe. So you can see it's got quite a lot of things socketed on here. Look, the delay line has been socketed. All the stuff here, that, all the stuff here, the RAM. The whole thing, actually everything has been socketed. It's going to be a little bit easier to work on in that respect. But I don't have a GTAA. I think this is the GTAA here, isn't it? And then I always forget around which way around these are. Sally, hang on, which one's Sally? That's Sally, I think, isn't it? Which would make that antic, if I'm thinking correctly, because that's a PIA, that's Pokey. Even these are socketed here, look. These are the 405 are they? For the keyboard. Muxin or demuxin, I forget which way around that is. And then we've got like the kernel or OS ROM and a basic ROM, I forget which way around those are. So yeah, this is the same revision we looked at for William. On the 65XE, some of the stuff here, the clock gen stuff, was wrapped up into Freddy, wasn't it? I've got a spare one of those coming actually. Sparks UK was able to source some of those from Best Electronics. So yeah, I mentioned Best Electronics a number of times in the past. Check out the link to that website down below. I don't remember seeing that on Williams, a little cap or something, coupling, probably the video or audio there. That's a bit strange. But in terms of the colour issue in general, this transistor here, now this has been swapped apparently, you can see that, there's huge blobs of solder on that, so yeah, that potentiometer has been swapped, but this transistor here, I'm just wondering if that's breaking down a bit or something. But then again, the thing we see, the creepage, you know, creeping in frequency, I think not. It's unlikely, but I don't know what else it could be, other than the GTAA. It's like an analogue problem, isn't it? Something's warming up and it just drifts, the frequency drifts. You'd think it'd just relate to that potentiometer there, but anyway, I don't think it does. Yeah, so, the 2N3904 here, I might swap that, but I think before I do that, I'm just going to power this up again. We'll see if we can get the problems, you know, back and wait for them to go again and just scope the stuff here in relation to the colour signal. No chip creep there. Everything's pretty firmly in its sockets. Just for the several minutes it was off while I was taking the screws out, the colour's back, so yeah, it's super annoying. I'm going to need to wait for it to start glitching again, I think. So just using a bit of hot air, 100 degrees, actually just warming this area here, I seem to create a problem. It's cooling down now, let me just show you. Right, let me show you. Right, graphics okay, there's just the odd glitch in here. Just watch as I heat the clock area there, just a little bit. Hopefully it'll recreate itself. I might have inadvertently moved on. Look, so doing it glitching now, see that? So this here. So, and it's not, the area's not hot, nothing's really hot there, it's just like a few degrees warmer, that's all. So we've got some temperature sensitive stuff going on around there. I mean, that's probably to be expected when you heat around a crystal, but I'm putting my hands on it, I'm not heating it now, putting my hands on it, cooling it down. It's just like marginally lukewarm. Let me focus around the GTAA, that transistor. Yeah, so it's not that transistor next to GTAA. Then again, the colour's not going, but when I was in the middle of the board here, just around these things near the modulator, let's just try that. Yeah, look, the pixels are going weird. Focusing around the small 8-pin dip. See nothing at all. Around the 3 transistors there that merge the, is it the Luma? I forget. Nothing there. Yeah, there's also an IC there for a CMOS, wasn't there? Not that. Above that, around the modulator again. A little bit of glitching coming, look. Yeah, heating that transistor around there, we get some glitching, but obviously that's not affecting the colour. It's just some, you know, lines coming out like this. So I'm reluctant to think that's the issue, but then again, it's so sensitive to temperature out there. There's something not quite right. It's surprising though, it's surprising how sensitive that area is to those temperature variations. You can see that just blowing, it's like, it made such a difference there. Maybe it's just like one component around here is making a big difference. What is interesting though is it did start to lose the colour when I first did this in a specific area, and I just can't work out where it was now. Yeah, because it's warmed up, you see, we've still got all this here. Blowing antic there, that got that back again. So yeah, it seems like there is some sensitivity to antic getting warm, and obviously the crystals, and that's bound to happen, because if you get some variation on your clocks there, just from a bit of temperature change, and it's temperature change that's quite quick, this is the thing, you wouldn't notice it so much, and the system would warm evenly. What I mean by that is the board's warming up in certain ways, and at no one point under normal operation does say the crystals get hot or antic just get hot on its own. And that's where you're going to see things like that. In theory, if you heat it too much, you could kill something. But we're just using 100 degrees here for maybe 10 or 20 seconds just to get it warm. There they go. Colour started going again. Let's just heat the colour transistor. No. Oh, hang on. Yeah, heating that transistor. There are some components nearby, let's heat those. Yeah, look, I'll show you where I'm heating. Yeah, well, I think we've got a temperature sensitive cap there. It's a capacitor thing, I think. So it's here somewhere. It's not the transistor, it's not that. Let's just try and cool this area down. Let me blow it. So you can see we've lost colour totally now. See that? Yeah, it's doing the thing we saw when it started this, isn't it? Like on, off, on, off, on, off. And put the fingers on there to sync the heat. And I think it's getting better, actually. I'm seeing stars from blowing so much, but yeah, the board is getting better, hang on. Right, anyway, we've got colour. Let's just try and lose the colour by heating that area again. And it's gone, look, I think. Look, it just goes completely. So yeah, I think we've got some marginal component just around that area there that is changing its tolerance. You know, it's changing, it's going way out of tolerance over time with temperature. Right, you can see the meter there, and if we measure the diode to the left here, see we've got a forward switching voltage. Measure it the other way. Nothing. That's correct. That left diode's fine. Watch this one here. The band is at the bottom. Nada. Nothing. I think it could be that diode, or lack of diode. And it's a slightly different colour. It's like the bronze. This is like lighter than that one. So I need to look at the schematics to see if I can work out what that diode is. Does it go at all to this transistor here? Either side. There may be a resistor in series with it or something. Or, as I say, that could be for something completely different. It might not be the colour stuff, but this is. And heating here is where we have the problem. Blowing here, it seems to get it back to the colour start to come back. So yeah, I'm going to go work out what that is. So to me, this kind of is looking open and shut. I do think it is. This diode, if you look at the schematic here, I might do a print of this in a minute, but yeah, you've got two diodes here. There's the transistor Q1, that's down there. I don't recognise the part numbers from the diodes, but what I do recognise is that 33k resistor there. I measured that, that's okay. 680 ohm resistor was measured about 670, 680, 660, 670-ish, so I was like, is it that resistor? But I heated and cooled it, didn't really seem to change much. I didn't think it was that. But yeah, we got two diodes there. Yeah, and you saw me measure on continuity test. We had no shorts to the components, the transistor, because obviously we've got a cap in the way there, resistor there. But nevertheless, one of these is balked, and down here it says CR1, CR2, 1 and 4, 148. That's a general purpose. I think it's a Schottky or something, isn't it? It's a diode. Got loads of those. So yeah, I think we'll get that diode off, measure it out of circuit, but in circuit it's just measuring open circuit. So I did have to manipulate the board an angle a little bit there to get the joystick ports to free up. But yeah, I managed to get it out. There was one screw up here somewhere holding the board in, you know, beyond all the other screws that were holding the shielding in. So yeah, I just need to work out which one it is. So it's the left one. Yeah, so it's the left one here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so it's the 5th component here from the left. So yeah, let's just get, hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is that one there. Let's just get the solder down there and remove the solder. There you go, you can see I've removed the solder from that point there. Let's just try and wiggle it a little bit. This point here, I think that's going to need heating and pulling out actually on one side. I think this side here is going to come up. There we go. Let's just gently heat from the top side here. See if we can just free that up. There we go. And let's just put that on diode test. So meters on diode test. It's probably going to measure alright now, isn't it? It is doing. Well, that's not the normal reading though, definitely not. Yeah, I think that diode might be the issue. Let me test the other one that's on the board. Yeah, the other one's alright. I don't know, maybe it's a red herring. I'm going to swap that diode out anyway. It's just a 1N4148. But the other clue to me, it's really light. If you look at that one there, this is like, I don't know, 2 shades brighter. It's bizarre. Yeah, that diode is the issue, because you know what, I should have followed my instinct there. Because just watch this, this is a 1N4148. Hang on. Look at the reading. 589. That's normal. That's normal for a 1N4148. This one, as you saw a minute ago, was like twice that. And when it was on the board, it measured nothing. Look at that, 2. Yeah, it's that diode. That diode is bugged. So I mean, this will make this the simplest repair ever, really. It's hard to believe how quick I found that one. I'm surprised though. I thought it was going to be the transistor. You know what? That transistor could cause this to fail, so that may be worth swapping while we're here as well. I think I may just do that. But I'd like to just test it at least with this, and see if that solves the problem. Does it behave normally in terms of colour again? Yeah, so there we go. That's the diode in position. Let's just flip it over, bend the legs out a little bit. In fact, we'll bend them inwards like the other ones were. What is interesting, this is the second one of these that's had a colour fault. The components in that area, you know, last time it was the transistor, this time it's this diode. It's possible, as I say, the transistor killed the diode, and the diode may die again. You may get instances out there where that transistor fails, but the diode doesn't. Yeah, so that's our diode. I'm just straightening that somewhat. It's kind of bent over to the side a little bit. That's it. Let's give that a try. Yeah, and you know what? That's enough of a clue to me to prove that it was the diode. Why? Because the colour part is calibrated, or was calibrated, to take into account the deficiency in that diode. So you can see this is green, not yellow. And it's stationary, you know, it's stable, it's rock solid, it's not jittering around, it's not changing. So we now need to adjust that colour part, so I'm just going to do that. Let's just twist it till we get the colour correct. Hang on, not sure which way to go here, go and do the way again, hang on. Yeah, there we go. There we are. So that was it was that diode. Bulk diode. Whilst I'm here though, I will swap that transistor. Just see if that's free. Yeah, 1 or 2 legs are. In fact, they all are, I think. There we go. Pull that out. So we'll test that on the meter in a minute. So a brand new 2M3904 there. Let's just push that into position there. Flip it over. And we'll just leave this on test for a period of time. I will just clean up these solder points now actually. The other thing we'll do, see this, potentially I'm to look at the state of that. Yeah, I think we'll remove all that blooming excess solder there, there's copious amounts of it. There's a chance there's no pad there, that might be why it was like that. You can see what's happened here now because of the amount of solder around there. Good God. Let's just clean that up as well. Let's just get a wee bit of fresh solder there. Yeah, there's no pads on this side, is there? I think that's the problem here. So yeah, there's no pad look. But you know what? It doesn't need to be on that side. So yeah, it didn't need the huge, you know, that'll clean up in a minute. It looks charcoal, but there's no pads there. This is why someone's put huge amounts of solder here, because this is where the pads are. But again, we don't need huge blobs of solder. I think that's it. This side over here is not too bad, so I'm just going to leave that as is. But we'll now just clean up. But hopefully you can see the difference there. That's what you want. You just want enough solder to join. This side here, actually might not be joined now. Looks like it isn't, so I need to check that. Yeah, it may need to be joined to a little trace there. In any case, that is looking cleaner on this side. Yes, the left hand pad is joined up properly. That right one though, I'm not sure what's going on. Yeah, so we got no colour again. It's this leg down here because there's no pad. I actually think the crazy amount of solder was to join to maybe a tiny bit of a trace from down here maybe. I'll test that on continuity, but I think what we need is a wire from there to there, which I would route on the underside rather than having huge amounts of solder and just making a mess. You know, this leg here goes underneath the component on the top side to that point there. So we just need a little wire there. So the way it would be a bit temperamental. It's going to melt back just a little bit and then it should be just the right distance maybe. Yeah, there we go. And I'm going to put it flat like that. It's a bit longer now than we need it. So what I'm going to do is just wrap it around the pin. Bend it around like this. Back around on itself. Over the top of the wire, if I can see what I'm doing. Yeah, magnification is essential. In fact, I don't need to, I can just push it upwards like that. So it's like a little loop, around that variable resistor point there. And if we just add some solder here now, it's going to go all around it and give us a little bead like that. There we go, that is not going to come disconnected. It's right round the pin and it's going to be reliable compared to how it was. And looking at that angle, you might be able to see that a wee bit better. There's a green trace here, comes from here under this component to there. So there's, like I said, the smallest little, you know, there's no pad, the pad is gone. There was the smallest little connection between the solder here. So now we're not dependent on that. I mean, in theory, I could remove that little blob there now because it serves no purpose at all. Let's just touch it here. There we go, it's gone. It serves no purpose at all other than just to look a mess. It is now robustly secured on the other side. Like that. So yeah, we need that there, I think, and then this is the hard bit. You've got to get the ports in down here, and then it's this SIO port at the back, which is, there we go, a bit of a pain. Yeah, so I think it goes that way. Yes, it is. It's not screwing through, so that must have been right. And hopefully the shield will go back on. Yeah, that's got to be right, but you can see the point here, you've got this little metal thing. So yeah, you've got to make sure that's not shorted onto the parallel port, whatever it is there, you know, the card slot. That's it. So I'll just test this for a few hours. I'll have a look at the membrane next, I think. You know what, I'm tempted to not even go near this membrane. One of the two issues you can see here, can you see? these pins have been folded. That one there is like folded up. It needs like squashing down a bit there. Yeah, and it's kind of hanging over the edge a little bit there. So what I need to do is just get a craft knife under that, add a bit of super glue just underneath the thing and put it flat. This one here, can you see it's folded right up? It's like halfway here. It's folded over itself. I just need to use again a knife to lift it and fold it back over and again glue it down. That might be the issue with the power LED, I don't know, but yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to do anything with it. But anyway, we'll straighten those out, see if that makes any difference, and obviously, like I say, I'll try and glue them down. So that end one there, one down here, I think, and another one up there. Yeah, they've been folded back down the way they should be, and the tiniest little bit of super glue underneath them, and you know, pressed and bent downwards to stick on. So I don't know, we'll just give that a try. Let's just see if the power LED comes back on. If it does and all the keys work, I'm just going to leave it at that. It's really hard to do this. I need to flap from the left hand side, so don't sort of stick it in like that. That's where you'll curl them up. You need to be sort of hanging towards the left side. Hang on. Yeah, hanging towards the left side. Don't commit to pushing it in until you've got it all lined up all the way along, and then just try and push downwards and hope they don't fold. Let's see what happens. Now, if it was just that flexible edge there, this should illuminate, and it isn't doing. So yeah, I think it's a membrane thing. Typical, isn't it? After we've got the lid back on, I've now got a colour problem. It might just be that pot, you know, now it's warming up, it might just need a slight tweak. Anyway, yeah, every key, apart from the power key and the reset key, brake doesn't do anything. We can test that in basic, but reset doesn't do anything. Help does though. So yeah, and every other key works. I've tested every other key. And you know what, thinking about this, there is no membrane, I don't think. Or maybe there is, but there's a PCB. So I'm thinking it's a PCB issue on this. Yeah, this is the only flexible part here, isn't it? I could be wrong, there could be a membrane under this, but the fact that it's a hard surface here, mind you, there might be a flex ribbon on top of that. Anyway, let's get all the screws out of this. There's millions of them. Let's remove the ones from the chassis first, all these ones. It's like four screws like around the edges of it, holding it together. Get those out, and then we'll get these millions of screws out of here. Yeah, as I suspected, it's a PCB here, so we can just gently clean these contacts, but bear in mind these work. There's a bit of wear here, look, there's a bit of wear here. I'm guessing the function key thing, and this is the bit that's not working, actually, so I should have took this bit off. But nevertheless, I think it's going to be the same thing, hopefully. I just need to inspect, you know, make sure there's no damaged traces or anything along the length of that. But yeah, I don't think that's the issue. I think it's going to be something on here. I mean, maybe the LED's dead, I don't know, but it's going to be a bad connection somewhere on that. Yeah, I see nothing wrong with this at all. Bear in mind, like this button down here was working, but it's a little bit worn. So I'm just going to gently touch these just to get anything off them, but not with IPA. I don't want to wear them at all. The contact up here, I will get some IPA into that one, because that was the reset button that wasn't working. And its little pad, you know, the carbonised thing that goes over the top there. We'll do the same on that. Just gently, like that. Not a lot. You can see there's literally nothing coming off that. And just down there for good measure, because there's something sticky, I don't know. Yeah, the LED. Yeah, I'll just test that on diode tests, I think. It may be that wherever it goes on here, it's the flex ribbon that goes from here to here that's the issue there. Or it may be that the main flex ribbon has got some issue on that one connection. That's a possibility. Yeah, but for the main PCB here now, I'm just literally just going to go white wipe over every one of these and then get it back together. Because all of those do work, or did work. Whether they work after I've cleaned it or not remains to be seen. So this is my first time looking at one of these. You can see what they are. You know, it's like a rubber thing here, flat, with a spring underneath. Some of them are stuck up. Can you see this? And that one's gone back in. I need to just try and get them all to go, there we go, flat again, before I can reassemble this. Like that one's not in its hole there. There we go, now it is. So yeah, really fiddly, these. This is the fiddliest one fiddliest keyboard I think I've worked on. Because the springs are like super small, look, and they catch look really easy. It's really easy for these to come out. Yeah, I think that's it. I think they're all level. Yeah, compressed air might be a good idea. Yeah, it goes that way, doesn't it? So, yeah, I need to just carefully line this up with the plastic notches. Like that. Yeah, right, now get the screws back into that piece. Yeah, collect all your screws into some sort of container and make sure you don't drop your container. I need to be careful because some of these screws I think actually support the outer pieces of metal that go on, so you know what, I'm going to have to go more into the middle. I think that's going to need moving down here. Right, that's enough for that I think, just for now. Let me try and get this thing now sorted. So bear in mind the reset and the LED are not working, are they? So yeah, that's still there, isn't it? Let's start with these middle ones. Let's get these middle ones back in. So the problem is here, like I say, the spring, when it keeps pressed, it pushes it all up. That's it, that one's in. We've cleaned the PCB already, but yeah, we'll just gently wipe the contacts like that. It could also be the GTA actually, thinking about it, because that's what handles these, and it could be a fault on the board or something, I don't know, we could have a look at that. But it's not scanned, these are not scanned I don't think, they just go straight to the GTIA with some pull-ups or something. So yeah, the next thing I do need to do now is carefully try and flip this over, I think. Yeah, it's in one piece. And we need to, well, align this up with this thing. So hard to work on this. Before we do that, let's just test that LED. It's a one diode tester. It should measure like a diode in one direction, so nothing that way. Let's try it that way. Yeah, we're getting a reading there. The other thing you could do, I sometimes do, in fact I've got to go do it now, get a CR2032, just press it between the contacts there and see if it illuminates. Yeah, I'm not sure if I've got enough separation between the positive. Oh, there we go. See that? See it illuminating? Yeah. So we know the LED works. Right, so taking the keyboard back to pieces again, because I worked out the issue. The motherboard is handling the reset correctly. It's these two pins here. Can you see they look a bit shiny? I scratched them back there, and this is the thing. This is what's happened here. Is just by virtue of someone going into this machine, bending this cable around left, right like that, it snapped it off. And it's these end ones here. So you know the cable's probably been pulled. I can't do it now. I don't want to damage it further, but pulled a certain way, which has gone ping, ping, snapped those end two pins off. So the third one along is fine. Yeah, not sure that's focused very well, but I scratched off and heated with a soldering iron, and then I managed to tin the two traces up on that ribbon. Yeah, but we can't get to the point where they are exposed. I did try to solder there and burned the PCB just a little bit, just from a few seconds of heat. You're not supposed to heat this side like that. So I spoke to Tom and said, are you okay with me trying to fix these two in the way that I'm intending, which is to do what I do now, tear it down completely, desolder the two pins from there, put some kynar through, solder it on the other side, stretch this kynar up onto the trace, solder it, get a little bit of white acrylic paint, just paint over those two just to cover them over. You could use a little bit of white silicone or something just to cover over, or a piece of tape, or you could just leave it. It really doesn't make a difference to anything. One thing you could do obviously is just desolder all the things here, replace this ribbon with some, I don't know, some wire, like a multi-core, you know, cable type thing, a bit like IDE or something like that, you know, something a bit more flexible perhaps, because IDE cables are super thin, isn't it? But then you've got the issue with the flat flex here that has to go into the motherboard. Yeah, what do you do about that? Well, Tom was of the opinion DuPont is something that people do, so you know, have DuPont connections here, and then desolder the the connector that's got the little springy contacts to mate with a flex ribbon like that that's on the motherboard, and fit a single pin header so that you can plug your DuPont in. But I just think that's way more complicated than just fixing the actual damage here. And I think it should be, you know, it's going to be a long-term liable fix. The only time it's going to be, you know, there's a risk of damaging this again is when you go inside there, and it's just a case of just lifting up the keyboard, you know, marginally, just a little bit like that, and don't stress it, don't, you know, flex it, don't bend it, etc. And as long as you're careful in the assembly and you know, and disassembly to start with, you should never do damage like that. It's just probably someone's been in and out, in and out, in and out, and stretched it, folded it right over. If you fold anything like that with a wire in it, it's going to break. Anyway, I've just left the one screw there because obviously I just want to get to this PCB. Hopefully all the contacts aren't going to come flying out again and stick to the top of this. So let's just try and lift and see what's going on with this. Luckily none of them are joined here, they're all flat, so we'll just leave that there. So we just need to desolder those two little, the first contacts on the right there, get some kind of through. That is it. Nice, simple, easy fix. I do like this keyboard, if I'm completely honest. Anything that's got a hard you know, membrane like this rather than a flexible one, this is always going to outlive the other ones, and I think some of these may have the flexible one. So yeah, this is a good revision he's got here. And I think after we fix this here, if I can sort the colour problem out, because as I said last night, I'm not so sure whether that colour problem's back again. If we can sort that out, then yeah, it should be a good little machine. Yeah, so I'm simply going to desolder these two bits of wire here, as I say. There we go, that's come out with the solder plug. It's like such a fine wire anyway, there might still be a bit of it there. Yeah, it's still snapped on the edge, I think, maybe. Yeah, we'll give it another go. Hang on. I'm not heating too long here because it's single-sided. My previous experiment, trying to heat from the other side, because that's the thing, I was trying to cheat. What I was trying to do is, instead of taking it to pieces like this, I thought if I can just heat the point where it's you know, the wire is, maybe I'll be able to push the camera through and the solder on the side will melt and grip it. That's just like lazy. So yeah, anyway, here we are doing it properly now. Yeah, so no traces of the wire there at all. So I'm going to do this much the same way I would fix a broken wire, which is to get it through there, hang on, get it through there, solder it on the side, leave the wire still on the reel, so that I've got some way of, you know, not just pulling out when I heat the contacts on the other side. Now remember, I need this long enough so that it can go up the flex ribbon there, so that should be long enough now, I think. So let's just add a large blob of solder there. There we go, so it's done on that side. And I think what we'll do, I will just cut this off, cut this down a little bit like that, so just so that it's not attached to the thing there. And then if we flip this over, and we just need to just literally, you know, pull it over, put it onto the flex ribbon. I'll cut it down first, I'm not just going to push it down yet. Push it flat, solder it on, that's that one done. And that's it, soldered on this side, and soldered onto the flex ribbon there. Because it has a metallic centre, you see, you can do that. But obviously, it's a little bit messy, so it's nice and clean there. So, you know, if we just flip this over this side, I'm not going to pull this up very far here just to show you this, because I will just stress out the other connections. But you can see the flexible, yeah? They're flexible, and they are soldered on. But I will, as I say, just, I don't know, stick a little bit of white paint on there, just to mask it, but it's not that essential. Anyway, that should be it, so let's reassemble it and give it a try. I'm not sure I showed this when I was taking it to pieces. These two pieces of metal, you can see I drew a little arrow there, and then an arrow here, so this one goes like that. And then this piece here, yeah, I drew, and this piece here I drew a little line there, and a line here. Yeah, if you do different markings on different positions on each side, you can't possibly get it around the wrong way. So, well, he says that. Yeah, no, you can. Look, that goes like that. And then obviously the little screws now hold this on here. So, yeah, that's just a little tip for you. So all back together, as I say, the connections were the power LED and the reset switch. Switch it on. Woohoo! We've got a lovely, vibrant LED. Yeah, just look how bright that is. And in theory, if I press reset, hey! Reset works as well. So yeah, you got those lines there as it resets, but I think mine does that on my 65XE. I just need to see now whether the, hang on, I'm not sure, maybe it's doing this colour thing again. Maybe the trim pot there, you know, the resistor there, the trim resistor is not set exactly correct, it might be marginal. Well, super annoying. About an hour later, you can see we've got that issue. So, I honestly do not know what is going on with this. I need to measure around that circuit again, make sure that diode's still alright. But we changed the transistor. Maybe one of the caps around there is a bit balked or something. That might ultimately what killed the diode. So at this point I used the Rigol from Alice and Charles there to scope around a few things. I looked at the PAL colour subcarrier crystal there, 4.433 megahertz, and even when it was the colour was glitch and stuff, it seemed solid. You know, I was thinking it was a crystal thing. I photographed a few of the signals I was scoping around the colour circuit and the main clock. There did still seem to be a temperature related issue somewhere around perhaps the main clock. So the colour problem hasn't completely gone away. We did fix the issue that's down here, but there is something else going on, and I think it's clock gen stuff here. I don't know if there's the tolerance of these crystals, whether one of them's got a small fracture, a little crack somewhere that's temperature sensitive, because this is the thing, you know, temperature can affect things like this. Could be these transistors. I may just swap these out. That's going to be the next thing I do, I think. But I can't source these crystals. I know Sparks UK has been having incredible trouble trying to find replacements for these Ataris. You just can't get them anymore. You can get like a programmable device from DigiKey or something. It's like a little crystal that's programmable. So I might have to resort to fitting something like that. But if I just heat these transistors here and these two crystals just gently for a few seconds, 100 degrees, just watch. So you can see at the moment the picture's solid, good colours. It's only been on for a few minutes here. Just heating around there now, transistors. Watch. Hang on. The other thing is it ties in with the game. You've got to have the gameplay up. If it's just like frozen with this display, you don't notice the problem. Hang on, it's not doing it now. It's a bit coincidental after I've been touching that area, isn't it? What the... Oh, there you go. Did you see that? Yeah, a bit low down there. Maybe it's the transistor just below. Look, colour starts coming and going, coming and going, coming and going. And that kind of makes sense. The bottom crystal is the for the PAL. Maybe it's that crystal that's the one that's a problem. And the one above is the main crystal for the, you know, it goes into Antic or wherever it gets divided out, I think. But look, we managed to simulate that. I'm not heating at the moment, but yeah, you can see it's having a bit of a moment. We'll heat it again. Yeah, you can see it's just coming and going. Look, the colour's gone there. So I'm inclined to think that's what it is. It's a clock thing. We're getting some drift or something. You know, the frequency is altering over a period of time. Look, there's that line back again. Do you remember we saw that line when we looked at the problem originally? And just watch this. Let me blow the problems away. Do you think that's just coincidence? I think not. Yeah, so colour problems have gone away since I blew them away. Anyway, let's switch it off. The next thing I'm going to do is take these two transistors off, and maybe this one here, and just swap all three. Because we know that the transistors and the diodes on these, they do fail. You know, we've had you know, a diode fail there, that transistor there's failed previously. We swapped it out for good measure. But yeah, I think it could be these for the main one here. But because what seems to happen is I heat around here, not much happens. I heat a bit further up, and then suddenly, just somewhere around here, you know, around this area, we start to get the colour going in and out. Well, this is the 4.43, whatever it is, you know, PAL colour burst frequency. So maybe it's this crystal. This plastic sleeving around them isn't a good thing, if you ask me, because you know what? It's going to insulate it, you know, so like as it warms up, it's going to contain that heat. It's going to get perhaps hotter than it would do. So I don't know, I'm inclined to even cut this plastic stuff off here, but obviously when it's under the metal shielding, it's still going to get hotter and hotter and hotter anyway, but that could be having an effect. I've tried tapping, just a gentle tap on crystals, not a whack because you'll crack them, but yeah, it doesn't make any difference. Pressing around here doesn't seem to make any difference. Obviously when I get the board out, we'll inspect the solder points around here. It could just be a bad solder point, you never know, I might be shocked. You could argue I should have done that when I had the board out. Yeah, so I'll inspect thoroughly around this now. Well, I think I hit it first time there, because you know what, just as I powered that up there, it was like a dark green instead of brown here, and within a second or two it's gone normal. I'm just going to adjust the colour part, I think. Hang on, yeah, it doesn't help if you use your fingers. I am using fingers. Yeah, the whole point being is that after swapping that transistor, it had an effect straight away. The colour was out. Right, let's leave it there. See what happens with that. Yeah, it's been on for hours now. I was going to say, I think it must be that transistor. I did just see some flickering when it loaded, but I don't know, that might be a normal thing. But the colours are solid now, and this has been on for about 3 hours almost. Right, the following day I think I've fixed this, but it certainly hasn't been without a lot of stress. I swapped the transistors here. I think this one's a 2904. These are 2906s, or 3906 actually, I think. Yeah, anyway, long story short, the transistors measure alright. On the component tester, they measure alright. In fact, the ones with the silver front, I don't know what I've done with them now, they're on here somewhere. But yeah, the transistors measure okay. So, it wasn't actually the transistors. But then I had some fun and games. The replacements, I got a bag of 3906s here. When I fitted those there, in that clock, you know, I think the shape, the main clock here actually, those two. And when I put those there, the display was like, you know, you saw where the sprites get messed up, like it's drawing at the wrong place on odd lines, you know, like the pixels like going like that, stretch it. It was doing that right from the start with 2 brand new transistors. So I tested those in the Atlas here, and I was looking at the gain in particular, yeah. The original transistors were on there, I'll show you the readings of those in a minute, but they were significantly less. The ones I was fitting were over 300. In terms of the current gain, I think it was. And then the original ones were like 218-ish, 217-ish, so I'm like, well, there's a big difference. Are these really 2N3906s? This is the thing. I don't think they are. I think someone's just stuck them in there. It's a general purpose transistor. It's similar in characteristics, but it isn't the same thing. So I got an old A500 Plus motherboard, which I'm stripping for parts. I need all the stuff off it for a build coming up on my channel, actually. But the 2 transistors, I thought, well, let's just take those 2 off there, and fitted those there straight away. The colour needed adjustment again, which is interesting, isn't it? Why would the colour need adjustment after changing the main clock? The only thing I can think there is just because it's the relationship it has to this clock, yeah, and this is why you have to tweak this. So I had to do that as a result of changing those transistors, just like we did when we changed this one, yeah. And now I think it's okay. Now the clue, as you'll note, was temperature. Yeah, when it heats up, when it's got the shield on, this is when the problem would come back. But the other thing that would replicate that is hot air. So if I just wait for the hot air to come down to around the 100 degrees mark, it's at 130 now, 120, 110, that'll do. And if we just heat this area, just heating here previously, I would be able to get those lines, you know, the line thing with the pixels and every other scan line going weird. And I'll show you the screen, but I'm just heating this area, getting it really nice and toasty, including the crystals. And there's no effect at all, none at all. So I really believe it is those transistors. I need to go find where they are now to do some tests and stuff on them, but I'll show you. You can see how long I've been heating that, and it's pretty hot actually. As you can see, no effects. Heating again, none at all. So 3 hours later, and it's still okay. And that was with the shield just sat like that, so it's not in the case. So yeah, I actually think I've solved it. I do think there's still some temperature sensitivity there, but that's kind of like a given. In other words, if you take hot air 100 degrees to an area on a board, you are going to start to see some issue. But I think I sort of showed you to start with. I was heating it quite a while and there was no effect, so actually I think those transistors were just a little bit temperature sensitive. So the final things that seem to solve this colour stability there, obviously, we're swapping these transistors and that one. I obviously had to swap these a second time because I think the ones I've got, I don't think they're genuine. These ones are. They're from an A500 motherboard. So yeah, I need to source some more of those 06 transistors there. Yeah, PNP ones, I think the other ones are NPN. I forget exactly. Anyway, I'm going to clean around with cotton buds here, and you can see all the solder points around this, including the crystals, and some of these here were reflowed. There were no dry joints there, but I just reflowed everything around that whole area anyway, because obviously it did seem to be temperature sensitive in both these areas here. The next thing I would have done is remove this plastic coating here, because that's going to keep the heat in, and it's just going to not help the crystal dissipate any heat. So as this area warms up, that slight increase in temperature that may not have if it's not got the plastic wrapper on it may mean that it starts to just shift out of frequency just a tiny little bit. And beyond that, you're looking at replacing probably this crystal for the PAL, you know, the colour burst. On NTSC board, it's going to be a different frequency there, I think. Sometimes Atari actually changed the circuit a bit, actually, for the NTSC. There was an additional chip, certainly on the 65XC, that you didn't get on the PAL one. So, yeah, just bear that in mind. Anyway, all I'm going to do now is just spot clean with cotton buds on IPA. There's very little dirt and dust on this board. And I have just took the board back out again, because you know what, that is really dirty. If you look at the contacts there, yeah, they're filthy. So yeah, we'll just go over those gently with the eraser here. Future is 8-bit. Just try and get a tiny little bit of this there. I need to get some more of this. It's dead expensive. That's about, I don't know, 10 quid or 8, 9, 10 quid for a tiny little bit. Yeah, there is some dirt coming off with that as well, so yeah, that was a good idea, I think. Inspecting the underside here, you can see where I added that wire before for the potentiometer, and up here is where we did the work with the transistors and stuff. So yeah, there's a bit of flux there. I'll just wipe that off with a cotton bud. That's down here. I haven't touched that, but yeah, it's really pristine, that actually. It's good enough to go back to Tom, I think. What I do like about this one is everything's socketed, isn't it? I don't see anything on the board that isn't. That is really, really, really desirable. Because if you get any problems, it's so easy to swap chips around to work out what the issue is. Just because I've got into the routine of doing this on C64s, I'm going to clean all these ports with the contact cleaner here. It's always a good idea, really. Obviously, push your connector in and out at that point. That one is the video one, isn't it? So, yeah, I'll just do that. I'll do the same with the power connector, and I'll do the same with the joystick ports and the SAO as well, just a little bit of contact cleaner there. So I've put a sticker on there. Tom can remove that if he wants. It's just a bit of IPA underneath and get rid of any remnants of any sticky. But yeah, it's just an indication when it was worked on. I guess it's interesting, someone who picks this up maybe 20 years from now, if it's still working, and takes it to pieces and inspects, they'll know exactly when it was repaired. If you do recap this, Tom, having received it back, maybe stick a red dot here and then put your red dots on your caps, and then it's obvious when those were replaced as well. I've just been cleaning this out with cotton buds. I'm going to need a number because it's filthy even up the sides, but look at the blackness of that. Yeah, there's loads of dust got into that, and it's on the top here, look, as well. I think what I'll do, just as a final thing, I'll clean this slot up when we get the lid back on, and get a cart, put some contact cleaner, some deoxide gold, and push in and out of there a few times with my test cart. I think I've only got the one cart, actually. I need to get some more carts for the Atari here. The one or two connections here and the one on the end, I got a little bit of epoxy under because super glue just wasn't cutting it, it came off. Just on the off chance some of the epoxy got onto the actual connections, I am just going to just gently, really carefully here, just use the fiberglass pencil on the top side here. Just like that. And I will test it. I'll inspect that with magnification and then I'll give it a try. And if you look down here, you can see, yeah, it's a bit blobby, but it's covered. So if you're working on one of these, when you take this out, you know, just lift it up a marginal amount, just lift slightly to the right like that, and then just try and pull straight upwards. And when you're putting it back in, don't be tempted to go in like that from that side and push it down. You need to, let's say, flap it from the left side. It's always a good technique, that, with this type of connector on any system. It can take some practice just to gently pull it over like that. And then once it's in position, yeah, just pull to the left, lean to the left a little bit. Hang on. And go straight down. That should be it. About 2 hours later, and no colour problems, so I think that's it. I think it's solved. It was those transistors. So I can see this has been wiped with IPA before because it kind of dries the plastic out, so we'll get a little bit of polish onto that set, but before that some plastic polish, just a little bit. I'm going to do this really gently here, not like pressing. Some of these scratches are not going to come off here, but it may just help us get some of the dirt off. You can see it is dirty. Yeah, there was a scratch here, and I just literally just touched it with this polish and it's come straight off. See all these little marks here, look at that there. Let's just get some of that over there. Just gently. Sometimes in the direction of the scratch. There we go, that one's gone. Right? Yeah, it's gone. And that mark there is gone. So yeah, just a wee bit of this really. So the top bit is looking a lot better, so there's still a bit of patchiness here, so I'll give it another go in a minute. Right now I'm going to use some cotton buds with IPA, and you can see there's a layer of dust actually between these keys here. So I'm just going to give, do this the long way. This is the hard way to clean the keyboard. Taking all the keycaps off, cleaning them individually is the easy way. And I will hoover this afterwards just to make sure there's no dust and wind and stuff. But yeah, this is perhaps slightly, but in some ways it's a bit better for wear and tear, because taking all these keycaps off and putting them all back on, you can damage them sometimes. Anyway, it'll come up looking like new like this, but it will need a number of passes. Yeah, so hopefully you can see. So hopefully you can see this top row here, all cleaned. I haven't cleaned the tops, I'll do that next, but I've gone down the sides of each of those, down this top edge, the bottom edge. And if you look at the contrast here, can you see the dust and dirt on these ones, these 3 rows here, compared to that one? So yeah, there's a huge difference. Right, all the keys I've got to clean. I need to now vacuum to get all the bits of dust, and then we need to just get some silicone on there to introduce a bit of protection back in there, because the plastic dries out. There are white streaks and things all around that to start with, and obviously it's marginally more streaky now the plastic's dried out from having a bit of IPA on it. But even though this polish dries up over a period of time, what doesn't happen is the streaks don't come back. The same thing happens with modern plastics, like the Xbox, for example, the black Xbox. If you've got one of those, you try cleaning one of those with IPA, watch all the white streaks on it when you're finished. Just get some silicone or beeswax or something on it afterwards, and you'll see, because it's all glossy again. And even when the polish sort of dries up as it does, and sort of, goes more of a matte colour again, you don't get the white streaks back. Before I get that polish on, I'm just going to give some of these things here gentle wipe. I'm going to stay off that. I don't want to touch the silver there, but this here, the white print is on the inside. There were a few horrible marks there. We could actually get some plastic polish onto that. I may do that in a minute, because it'll get that little scratch off there, and it'll be a little bit more clear. But I do want to get just a bit of IPA on the back here, just to remove the final parts of dirt and any remnants of the polish that haven't wiped off. I'll do the polish there in a minute. I'll show you that in the light. There's a scratch here, a little scratch, and it's just a bit cloudy. So yeah, a bit of plastics will solve that. But I will just get some of this on there, like that, and wipe it in. There's a piece of the plastic cover on this flap here, can you see that? That could be peeled off and that would look almost as new. And again, you might be able to polish that. I don't know, it's aluminium or something, isn't it? But I'm not going to touch that at all. So an interesting point, if you're using an SIO to SD, as I'm using here, this game was not loaded in lots of other games. I couldn't load Kung Fu Master. I tried that before, and I think that might be a basic thing that someone's written, I'm not sure. Wouldn't work, and I was like, why are some of the games not working on this? But most of them are. And then I remembered about the SIO to SD, the serial port speed. There's a configuration option. I think you press shift twice to get the configuration set up there, and you press K1, and you use K2, K3 to select a different setting, i.e. for the serial port speed, and K3 to select it, and then power off, power on. This is loaded. So yeah, I'm going to retry Kung Fu Master. Yeah, this is the arcade version. It's a recent bit of homebrew, this thing. Sweet. Yeah, I'll retry Kung Fu Master. Let's see if that works. I don't know if it's any good. It's got a .bas extension, so maybe it won't load anyway. But it was doing the same thing as this and a few other games where they just wouldn't work. Anyway, I'm glad I've worked out what that was. I do need to change it back to the fastest speed for my 65XC, because it will work on the fastest setting on the 65XC. Some of them you have to do a modification, don't you? Is it remove a cap or something, or I don't know, add an inductor or remove an inductor or something, to get the highest serial port speed possible. And that might be something you can do on here. This 800, yeah, it's not working on the fastest speed. I knocked it down 2 notches and just tested that it works. But you could probably do that mod to the serial port on this, and I suspect you'd be able to go full speed. Yeah, that works. Sweet, go press the start button, I think. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, not bad. I like the speed that the Atari throws the sprites and stuff around. This kind of reminds me of the C64 in so many ways. There's just something nostalgic about Pokey though, isn't the way it sounds? And I think the reason being is so many arcade machines used Pokies, didn't they? So if it sounds very arcade-like, it's no wonder. So final test in here of Roboton 2084. I don't know where I am. That's a great start, isn't it? Where am I? Alright, there I am. Oh, you can hold fire down, that helps. That's quite cool actually, I like that. I've never really played the arcade version of this, but I played the Atari Lynx version a fair bit. I think you have to rescue the ladies, don't you? Very cool. So the final thing here with the wrist strap on, this. Now you may think it goes that way. I looked at some photos on the PCB way of this board and it shows it going in this way. I'm going to get some contact cleaner on there in a sec. I'm being careful not to scratch the flap when I stick that in. Let's just disconnect my serial and just power it on, make sure that that is working okay. Yeah, and that's working as you can see. Press question mark for help. Return. Yeah, so you've got lots of different tests there. But do you notice the interesting thing there? It's like 32k plus 16. It's a 64k machine. So yeah, 16k the RAM I think it can't test because I don't know, it shadows somewhere. Perhaps, or it might be, I don't know, video RAM or something. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Post your comments down below. Why can't it test that extra 16k? It's testing 48k effectively. Yeah, there we go. RAM test pass. Let's just do V voltage. Turn. Voltage fail. I don't understand. How do you just the voltage? I suspect you've got to have a loop back and it's able to monitor the 5 volt level and go, yeah, your 5 volts is okay. So yeah, I'm not going to pay any attention to that at this stage. It's the only way it could test the voltage. There's no capability for it on board to measure its voltage itself. But if you had a loop back cable connected to maybe the joystick port, it would be, and you know that joystick port goes back to, I don't know, the SAO port or the parallel interface there or something, it would be able, you know, with a resistor or two or something there to be able to detect that the voltage level is not 5 volts. You could do the OS ROM there, OS ROM. OS ROM pass. Yeah, anyway, I'm going to give this one a bill of good health and pass it back on to Tom. So I've got a wee bit of contact cleaner onto the car edge there, and I'm just going to try and hold the flaps open, push it up and push it down a few times here. Being careful not to scratch the flaps, which is why I'm holding them open. So I'll put the tiniest drip of glue just under that there, because it was actually peeling up. And I will just gently wipe the underside, but I'm not going to go to town, it's just got a few tiny little marks. So just retesting the transistors I took out of that. So this is one of the 2N3906s, I think. So it's a PNP transistor, the current gain 220. We'll compare this to the other of the same type in a sec. Test current 2.5 milliamp. Base emitter voltage 0.82. Test current 4.57 from, I call it on base, I think it is, isn't it? Leakage current 0. So yeah, that's that one. I'm not going to be able to remember those metrics, those figures there, so it will be interesting to compare. Yeah, so I might get the pin order the wrong way around, but the nice thing with this tester, this peak one, it doesn't matter which way around you get it, and it tells you the pin order according to the you know, the colours of the wires you've got there. So let's see what that one comes back with. PNP again, should be the same as the last one, remember. There's the order of the pins. 236, now that was 220. So you can see straight away there's a difference in gain there. Now you do get a difference in gain between transistors of the same type, you know, generally it's like a quality thing, a tolerance thing. But I think that's a clue, because you'll see when I test some other of the same type in a minute, some new ones, they're totally different. But that could be because the new ones are fake. 2.5, that's the same, I think. That's the same, 0.82. 4.57, I think that's the same. Leakage current 0. So, you know, according to that tester, there's nothing wrong with that. But what I do know is, after swapping those transistors, we needed to calibrate it again, you know, with the potentiometer there. But then it seemed to be stable. So, even though those seem alright, I don't think they are. It could be a temperature thing. And a device like this is not going to give you that kind of insight. So yeah, I will bin them. As tempted as I am to keep them, thinking, no, they're probably alright now. Actually, I'm going to bin them. The pennies to replace, it'd be foolish to keep that. Forget where it came from. At some point, stick it into something and wonder why I get intermittent weird behaviour. So this one is one of the 2904s, I think. Is it? Yeah, this is one of the replacement 3906s, actually. So PNP again. There's the pin order in. Look at the gain there, 335. That's vastly different. The first one was 220. This is why I think that these transistors, the new 2N3906s, aren't genuine. I think they're fake. Test current 2.5. Look, a slightly different base emitter voltage as well. Instead of 0.82, it's 0.78. The test current's subtly different there, I think. No leakage current. So, yeah, I mean, I'll put that back with the other ones because I've tested the other new ones. Here, these 3906s, and they're all approximately the same, but they aren't the same as an actual 2N3906, so it's very strange. Yeah, this is the other new 06 that, again, I fitted, removed, and ultimately we fitted the two old stock ones off an A500 Plus motherboard that's being decommissioned, let's say, in an upcoming video. 326 again, look, it's almost the same as that last one, isn't it? 2.5, that's the same. Yeah, a bit lower than the original one. The original was 0.82, but it's the same as the other one. So I don't think there's anything wrong with this transistor. That's the same as well. No leakage current. So yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with them. I think it is a general purpose PNP transistor, but what it isn't is an exact replacement for a 2N3906. And certainly in terms of the gain. Some of this stuff they're marking up as one thing that, and it's not. Yeah, it might be almost compatible in 90% of applications, but something where maybe the gain is critical, yeah, you'd need to do adjustments elsewhere to take that into account. So in other words, these transistors might be alright in that 800 if I messed around with a few of the resistors related to the, I don't know, the base and the collector and stuff, maybe even the emitter. Look at this one, right, so this is one of the 2N3904s, so 148, 2.5, 0.78, 4.62, 0. So let's just, yeah, 148 is the gain on that one, so let's just try the other one. So we've got a couple of these ones, I think these are both the same, but the temperature sensitive, for sure. NPN, one. Current gain 199, 2.5. 0.8, so there's a difference there. 4.60. Let me just compare these two to see if these are the same. Yeah, so 2N3904. Yeah, and that's a 2N3904. So those two should be the same, but they were different, weren't they? They gave different readings there. Yeah, but anyway, all four of those are getting whizzed. And these I'll continue to use as a replacement for 3906s, I think. But I'm just going to have to you know, be careful with them. I might just write a note on here, actually put fake question mark. I almost forgot that. The final one there was that diode. I think this will do diode. Yeah, unknown or faulty. Yeah, I've got a new one on the bandolier there. Look, diode. Yeah, anode, cathode. Forward voltage from 0.68. Test current. So yeah, that shows you that that diode is balked, even though if I measure that on the meter now, it does give a switching voltage sort of thing, but and only in one direction, interestingly, but not. It doesn't read, you know, anything like it should do. Yeah, so hopefully you found that interesting. So yeah, there's a few tiny scratches, like I say, that haven't gone here, but you know what? It looks in excellent condition. There's a bit of dust there, just get rid of that. Yeah, it looks in excellent condition. So huge thanks to Tom Meads. He's sent me something you'll see in another video as well, some adapters to pass network over mains. So I can't thank you enough for that, Tom. That is just brilliant. It saved me a load of money. It means I can get internet in here, and then I may be able to do the occasional stream and stuff where you can actually see me doing these repairs and interact with me and stuff. So yeah, it's going to be quite a while before I get a chance to do that. I think I've still got quite a lot of stuff to work through here, backlog. You know, things like this as well that have come in. But yeah, huge thanks to Tom Meads for sending this. I've enjoyed working on this. It's a lovely machine. At some point I'd like to try and get an 800XL, maybe one of the early ones, a 600 or something like that, but they're rare as hen's teeth, these now. Yeah, you've got to treat the Atari 8-bits with the what's the word, respect they deserve, really. Be really careful, don't take any chances not wearing a wrist strap if you're working on one of these, because you can't get the chips now. It's worse than the C64 in the sense that the C64 you can hit eBay and you can find replacements for anything. These, try and find a GTA or an ANSIC that's PAL. They are impossible to find. Anyway, I do hope you found the video interesting. Please see the Coffee and Patreon links down below if you want to support the channel, or you could buy some merch, a mug or a t-shirt or something. They're a bit pricey, but anyway, all those things are available just to keep the channel going and keep me hopefully growing. Thank you for your support. I'll catch you in the next video.